This is the future of energy. It's clean, safe, efficient, and nearly limitless. But it doesn't come in the form of windmills or solar panels or even hydropower. No, the future of energy comes in the form of this little baby. Let me explain. Hi, it's me and welcome to my channel. This week, we're going to be talking about SMRs, or small modular reactors. These are a game changer for local area power generation and can take us further along the road to decarbonization than any other technology could ever hope to. So let's get into it. Decentralized power generation is key to slashing emissions and improving reliability and resilience. And nuclear power is one of the few energy sources that can really deliver on this promise. While renewables are great, they simply don't have the capacity factors required to keep our lights on around the clock. And while we transition away from fossil fuels, we also need to replace their reliability. Nuclear power plants offer high capacity factors up to 92% in some cases, meaning that they can produce power at a moment's notice and do so continuously. This is what makes them such a great fit for our cities of tomorrow. So having local nuclear power plants that feed directly into the grid would go a long way to making it more reliable. But that's not the only benefit. We also want to move away from fossil fuels, because their use causes climate change and air pollution. Well, nuclear power offers a clean alternative. There are no direct greenhouse gas emissions and very few indirect ones. Plus, unlike coal or natural gas, nuclear power doesn't release any particulate matter into the air. This is good news for public health and for the planet. And finally, we need to ensure that our energy supply is both abundant and affordable. Nuclear power ticks this box too. Unlike fossil fuels, which are subject to price hikes due to geopolitical tensions or market speculation, nuclear fuel is relatively cheap and in plentiful supply. Uranium is everywhere. There are thousands of potential fuel sources within just 100 kilometers of anywhere in the world. Now there are a number of different types of nuclear power plants out there, but they all share the same basic drawbacks. They are expensive to build, and they take a long time to construct. In fact, according to the World Nuclear Association, the average cost of a nuclear power plant has been increasing over the past few decades due to delays and cost overruns. Furthermore, they require large areas of land and an abundance of water, which makes them unsuitable for many locations. But what if I told you there was a type of nuclear power plant that was immune to these drawbacks? Enter the small modular reactor, or SMR. Okay, so these aren't actually that new. The United States started developing them back in the 1960s, and the first experimental model, the NS Savannah, was deployed in 1957. However, by the 80s development had slowed right down until now, when several countries are looking at SMRs as a viable energy source for the future. So what exactly is an SMR? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like, a small modular reactor. But let's be a bit more specific. The term SMR is generally used to describe reactors that produce less than 300 megawatts of thermal power. For comparison, the largest reactor in operation produces 1,600 megawatts of thermal power. SMRs are typically factory-built and then shipped to the site, where they are installed like a giant piece of equipment. This approach offers a number of advantages. First, because the reactor is built in a factory, construction time is dramatically reduced. Second, because they are built to identical specifications, they are easily mass-producible. Third, because they are much smaller, they require less materials, meaning they are cheaper to build. Fourth, because they are modular, they can be deployed in remote locations that would not otherwise have access to reliable electricity. Finally, because they are small, they take up far less land. And because they produce less thermal output, they require less water, meaning they are much more flexible in terms of location. Okay, so this all sounds pretty good, but how much power can an SMR really generate? Well, that depends on the design. Most of them are capable of producing between 5 and 50 megawatts of electricity, which may not sound like a lot, but consider this. The average U.S. household uses about 10,000 watt-hours of electricity per year. So a 50-megawatt reactor could power 5,000 homes. Now, obviously, this isn't enough power to run an entire city, but it's more than enough to serve a small town or a large campus or a group of buildings in a city. And this is where the modularity aspect comes into play. You can install multiple reactors as needed to meet the energy demands of your community. This makes them perfect for a wide range of applications. There are a variety of designs currently being developed, but one of the most promising is the liquid fluoride thorium reactor. Now, this type of reactor uses thorium instead of uranium-235 as its fuel source. Thorium is a more abundant and cheaper material that can be found all over the world. It is also less prone to proliferation, meaning it is much harder to use for military purposes. The liquid fluoride thorium reactor uses a molten salt coolant, which has a number of advantages. It allows the reactor to operate at lower pressures, which improves safety. It also makes it possible to passively cool the reactor, meaning there is no need for active cooling systems such as pumps or fans. And finally, it enables the use of thorium as a fuel source. The liquid fluoride thorium reactor is also very efficient. It achieves a thermal efficiency of up to 40%, which means that it can convert 40% of the heat generated by the reactor into electricity. For comparison, the best coal plants top out at around 35%. What this means is that a liquid fluoride thorium reactor can produce more electricity from the same amount of fuel than a coal plant can. And when you consider the fact that thorium is more abundant and cheaper than uranium-235, you start to see why this technology is so exciting. Now the liquid fluoride thorium reactor is still in the experimental stages, but it has the potential to revolutionize the way we generate nuclear power. If developed successfully, it could provide a cheap, safe, and efficient way to power our cities of tomorrow. So what does the future hold for SMRs? Well, they are already being used in a number of countries. China, for example, has been testing a number of different SMR designs and plans to deploy them on a large scale by 2030. France is also investing heavily in SMR technology and plans to have several reactors in operation by 2028. The United States is a bit behind, but a number of states are considering deploying SMRs in the coming years. This includes Wyoming, where the state government has committed to providing $1.2 billion in loans for the construction of a plant. There is still a lot of work that needs to be done before SMRs can be deployed on a large scale. The technology still needs to be proven, and regulators will need to develop new frameworks for licensing and oversight. But the potential benefits are so great that it is worth the effort. So here's my takeaway. We need nuclear power for our cities of tomorrow. It is safe, efficient, reliable, and carbon-free. And SMRs offer the best way to harness this energy source. They are cheap to build, easy to transport, and highly efficient. If we can master this technology, we will have a real shot at creating a sustainable future.